All right, good afternoon, everybody. Hold on a second here. We just presented upstairs and we had a race down here, so I need to take a deep breath and exhale. It's wonderful. We've spent 4 days together, and I'm just so grateful I had the opportunity to interact with everybody here. What a great group of people at this conference. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to say thank you by providing you with an opportunity to see some a little bit of entertainment here provided by some expert performers, people who are well practiced and have been working all week diligently to do this. Cindy, okay, let me introduce you to the Children's Institute performers led by Cindy Schneider, and they are here to do the Granny Awards, and they'll do 2 numbers for us. Give them a big welcome.
Forward, and back row, take a little step forward, okay? So we can hear everybody. Are we do it? All right.
Yeah.
We should move the broom.
Yep.
Let's move the broom.
Not right now, but she will. Okay. This is the cast and crew, staff, and kids from the Granny Awards. And we present the Granny Awards.
Set the stage, light the lights, fill the hall, it's a night of nights. Stars are here, let's give a cheer. It's the annual Granny Awards. Have a seat, settle in, on your mark, get set, get ready, begin. Here we go, enjoy the show. It's the annual Granny Awards.
And it's all brought to you live from the Fairy Tale Channel.
Granny, 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 Granny. Here we go, enjoy the show. It's the annual Granny Awards.
Okay, we're going to do one more number for you. That my corner pioneer choice people stay up here. Everybody else come down and sit right in the front row in the audience, okay? Thank you so much. Great job, guys. I wanted to say that at the last minute, my partner in crime has done this as my partner for many, many years. Susan March had to step in for one of the kids like an hour and a half before the show. So this is her. Very good. Okay, you guys set up. I will need a chair. Okay, get a little space, guys. You have space, so. All right.
Go.
Okay. This is the song, Star Dialogue, but the song is called It Has to Be the Corn Upon My Toes. Hit it.
Trap. I knew it had to be the corn upon my toe.
this slipper would have fit. I'd had them removed if I'd known you were coming.
Stop making excuses and let me try it.
Oh dear. I think we'd better leave.
Oh, no, you don't. Let me try it again.
Awkward. Do you even know what's going on?
No idea, but boy.
It's gotta be the corn upon my toe. Yes, it's the corn upon my toe that makes my foot appear to grow. I think you should really know that I'm the one you're looking for. Don't go walking out that door. I need to try it on once more.
Do you know what's happening here? Because I sure don't.
Oh gosh.
It's got to be the heat, yes, it's the heat that causes swelling in my feet, which usually smell so very sweet. They
What?
should fit so very neatly in a slipper just the size. I just hope you realize that I'm your princess in disguise.
Ay,
Ay,
ay, ay.
caramba!
This is truly quite confusing, like a joke but not amusing. I don't know which one to choose. Either one would be bad news. What an happy situation. Try to fill my obligation. Show me to the nearest door and I'll remain a bachelor. Hear that, guys?
This is truly quite confusing, like a joke but not amusing. I don't know which one to choose. Either one would be bad news. What a nasty situation. Trying to fill his obligation. Show us to the nearest door, and he'll remain a bachelor.
What could be better? Your performers were Matthew, Chase, Ashlyn, LaVey, Jaden, Jacob, Christian, Katie, Emily, Harris, and Joe. Thank you, guys. The staff supporting them were, of course, Cindy and Susan, Chelsea, Trina, Michelle, Tia, Olivia, and Trent. Thank you. Oh, wow. That leads me to say something else. I want to make sure that you're aware of the staff at the Children's Institute who have been up there caring for, I believe the enrollment was 114 children all week, while parents were able to attend sessions. The staff up there has just been wonderful under Dawn and Sherry's leadership. I'm just so grateful to be able to work with such a dedicated group that makes it possible for parents to be at all the sessions. For all the parents who are still here, by the way, you're what this conference is about. We are here to make sure that professionals obtain skilled levels of skill training that will lead them to be better at what they're doing to serve your children. And additionally, we're here that you're able to learn some things that will help make your life better for your children and young adults now and going forward in the future. So thank you for being here. We're grateful to serve you. With that said, I hate to close with some thank yous, but I have to. There's a group of people who have to be acknowledged for their role in pulling all this together, because it is just wonderful to work with all these people and to see things come together. One person who you probably haven't noticed this entire conference, but it just all came together because of her efforts. I don't even see her here right now. She may have already headed to the hills. I hope she watches this later to hear her name being said, because she's critical. She's the support staff for Amiris and I. Her name is Ashley Fry. She has worked tirelessly to get this together. The other two people who have also had to leave earlier in the week for various reasons, and actually one of them wasn't able to be here for some personal reasons, but the directors of Patton Harrisburg, Chris Cherney and Angela Kirby, both have provided endless leadership and support to provide us with the guidance we need to pull this together. So thank you. Kristen Starosa, are you here? Okay. Okay, well, Kristen, if she were here, should stand up, because we wouldn't have had the wonderful poster session last night. All of the exhibitors who are here, she is just one of the key people in organizing things to make the conference work. So I send my gratitude out to Kristen, as does my colleague Amiris, who is just... I should save her for last. I'll save her for last. Jonathan Ivey is not here. Jonathan helped us with the poster sessions this year. We really appreciate his help in pulling this together. The staff here at the Penn State Conference Center, they do all the detail work. All the detail work, everything about food, all the snacks, the flow of things, setting up the rooms, getting the transmission through the live streaming out, the archives, making sure the rooms are integrated at this hotel or at other hotels. Just a fantastic group. Led by John Ferris, who has been our direct contact. John, step in here and take a bow. I see you back there, buddy. And the Director of Operations here, Dylan Walker. I don't know if Wanda's around. Wanda does so much of the paperwork organization, all the registration, all keeping track of everything that needs to be kept track of. So thank you, Wanda, if she's here. She's at the desk doing paperwork, probably. And then finally, there is a group of people who are my dearest colleagues, and that's the patent consultants. They are just the best consultants in the world, without a doubt. These folks, the real work they did for this conference was spectacular, but that's just a sliver of what they do in terms of making presentations, facilitating sessions, making the flow go. But the work they do consulting in classrooms, it's magic. It's magic. Can my dear friends, my colleagues, please stand up? One of our consultants is only a consultant for about another 10 minutes. Val McInerney, it's her last day. She's moving on to bigger and better things. I hope, is Val here? Val, please stand up. Val has been a consultant with the Autism Initiative for 19 years? How many years, Val? How many years? 15? 15 years. Thank you for your service, Val. You're a star. And the last person I'm going to thank is Amira Stipoglia. She puts her life into this. And anything that happened, it was her touch. Okay, we want to get going here. We want to hear our beautiful next speaker. Janet Twyman has done so many things in terms of being an educator, a person who's skilled in technology, who has been a past president of the field for the Association for Behavior Analysis International. She has been a teacher. She has written books, published key articles on issues such as the intraverbal. She has developed software such as the HeadSprout program. I'm not going to say anything else because her words will floor us and will speak for themselves. So without further ado, my friend Janet Twyman.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Amiris. Thank you, everyone, for being here and being part of this amazing conference. I think I first came maybe 7 years ago or something like that, and have come a few times since, and every year gets better and better. It's just quite amazing, so thank you, thank you. I do have one thing that I cannot thank you for, though, and that's having me follow such a wonderful group of kids with this terrific, the grannies and Cinderella and all of that. And Mike and I were joking, the only other way he could sabotage me is having an amazing animal act as well. And they're like, how do you follow kids and animals? But at least it does. But I do thank you anyway. And at least it does give me a little bit of a segue, because as you can see in my title, it's why be a behavioral educator. And it kind of, those kids showed us why. I mean, the happiness and joy on their faces sharing with us something they worked on. During the 4 days of this conference, I think, is when they picked that up and on that, which is phenomenal. And then, the educators that work with them to teach them a wonderful routine to entertain us and give us some joy. And so all of that is like, why be an educator? And for me, it's never been a question. I have always wanted to be an educator. And actually, I remember in kindergarten, going to kindergarten, and I have this memory, whether it's correct or not, I have this memory of coming home to my mom and like, Mom, I know what I want to do in life. I want to be a kindergarten teacher. And then first grade, coming home, I want to be a first grade teacher. And second grade, coming home, I want to be a second grade teacher, and on and on and on until junior high. And I came home and wanted to be a first grade teacher. So, we've always, being an educator has always been a part of my life. And I have had the great, wonderful opportunity of living that dream. This is a picture of my students at the Fred Keller School when I was a special needs preschool director at one of the very first fully behaviorally grounded preschool programs back when that was a rarity, back in 1987. This picture is shocking for two reasons. One, that I got them to sit still long enough for a picture, which is quite amazing. And then the other thing is that they're now probably around 35 years old, which can't imagine. And working with kids have always been my passion, but also working with adults. And so this is just a snapshot of doing a little bit of response cards with some educators in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, where they were working with 50 kids in a class, needing some really strong evidence-based strategies to work with their large groups of kids and help try to lift them out of the poverty that was the bulk of their lives. And so I've had that great opportunity to work with kids, with adults, and more recently in my life with horses. My husband and I have adopted 2 wild Mustangs from the BLM. We have them in our home in northern Arizona. And I've been working on what we call gentling them. We don't break horses anymore, but teaching them to be able to be around humans, interact with humans, ultimately to be ridden and to do other things. And so it's all education. And being an educator has just been a vital part of my life. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without a science of behavior. And so the question that I kind of put up, it's not why be an educator. I mean, we all have a million reasons to be educators. But why be a behavioral educator? And my life has told me why, shown me why. But I'd like to share some of those reasons with you. One of the first reasons, and these are not in order of priority, of course, but just one of the early reasons is because Skinner told us that we can make a difference. Skinner told us that we can do something about the state, the plight of children, of students, of education in our world. And he told us way back in 1988 that we know how to build better schools. And he talked about how to do that through a science of teaching and learning, a technology of teaching. So we have that foundation that's come from one of the founders of our field, but not just from Skinner or one of the founders in our field. But we are rich. We have a rich, rich history of behavior analysis in education. And so this is a little website timeline that some colleagues, Ronnie Dietrich and myself, and some graduate students that are part of this special group of the Cambridge Center for Behavioral Studies, are putting together this timeline of behavior analysis in education. And it is just so rich, and we're populating it with not just research and publications, but when schools were founded, when movements started, when tools were developed. And so it's a great resource for anyone that's really interested in kind of that history and that scope and the flow, as you see how we've built the science upon ourselves as time has progressed. And so because of that history, because of what's come together, why should we be behavioral educators? Well, we're part of some pretty amazing models for teaching and learning. That rich history has put together some really incredible programs like PSI, working with college students and even high school students, developing this personalized, individualized system of instruction. Like the field, the area of direct instruction that really looks at systematically programming, systematically designing the communication or the contingencies around how students learn. Like precision teaching that works on the rate of response and fluency to build these amazing repertoires that are able to maintain over time and have resistance to distractions and are being able to be more easily generalized. We're part of the whole work of school-wide positive behavioral supports that have really made so many thousands of students across the nation and across the world able to stay in school and do better in school and to have more and more teachers catch kids being good. Programmed instruction that looks at analyzing contingencies to build a very specific repertoire, not just in traditional academic skills, but program instruction in the 60s, 70s, 80s were used to train pilots, engineers, doctors, all through a system of very, very carefully sequenced instruction. And then, of course, behavioral instructional design, which I really hope does not become a lost art in behavior analysis. We have this rich, rich, rich history in instructional design that continues to serve us and could serve us even more to this day. So when I think about all of that, and I think about that history, and I think about three of the giants or forefathers in our field, and anybody want to tell the group who we have here from left to right? Mike?
Lindsley, Fred Keller, Fred Skinner.
Exactly. Lindsley, Keller, Skinner, three of the giants in our field. And, because as a behavior analyst kind of geek or whatever, I like to think about what our founding fathers might be thinking about or talking about so intently. And, of course, I think I figured out what they were actually talking about. I think Og Lindsley was talking about the importance of the rate of response in learning and how we need to be able to chart behavior on a standard acceleration chart because it captures all the realms and dimensions of behavior. But of course, Fred Keller wasn't going to have any of that. He's going to talk about the importance of PSI and programmed instruction. And that's how we really ensure that kids are learning. Fred Keller, of course he's going to have something to say. He's going to talk about the importance of programmed instruction and those instructional contingencies and how to put it together. So I can, in my head, imagine these great debates and these great discussions about all these pieces of behavior analysis that's influenced instruction. And what do I think that they said at the end? Something we all can agree upon. A science of behavior can improve teaching and learning. So that's another reason to be a behavioral educator. Well, because of that science of behavior, we should be behavioral educators because we've got a pretty awesome toolbox of things put together. In fact, Dennis Embry, Tony Biglin, and a few others have written and talked about these kernels, these pieces of instruction that are empirically verified, that can be used across content areas, across ages of students, different locations, but these are empirically verified kernels, pieces, cornerstones of instruction that we can use really to teach almost anybody, almost anything. And I bet you, that these kernels, hopefully all of these kernels, or some of these other hallmarks, these same kernels, are part of our instruction, because we use it to teach an amazing, amazing array of repertoires, not just skills, not just behaviors, but repertoires. Repertoires are what change people's lives. Right? So we can use them to build these amazing repertoires, and we can use them across all sorts of learners. And this is what is beautiful about behavior analysis and being a behavioral educator, is that we believe in and we fight for and we work for the individual learner. And across all of those individual learners, we fight for everyone. We fight for the group. So why be a behavioral educator? Well, all of this shows that we have evidence-based strategies. We have this cadre of evidence-based practices that we can use in the face of pervasive, all too often very ineffective other modes of instruction that are out there. Sometimes it feels like we're swimming upstream. But we have this empirical base and we have this toolbox. And so we have alternatives to this, these ineffective methods of instruction. And so what I'm going to do next is just, not that probably we need any reminder, but just a little reminder about classroom instruction. So I'm going to go through a little exercise, and like any good teacher, I'm going to give you a quiz. My request to you, though, just to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to experience this, if you know the answer to this, I'm going to give you a single quiz question. If you know the answer, please don't shout it out, okay? You'll get a chance very early on to show how smart you are that you know it, but please don't shout it out, all right? So here's the framework. So Sam is an assistant in a butcher shop, right? So those of you, for those, so his height is 6 feet 0 inches, and he wears size 9 shoes. I'll keep these facts up there so it can help you. And for those of you that are visual learners, this is Sam, right? Of course, we know that we don't have visual learners or things like that, but just in case you wanted to know, here's Sam. All right, so here's my question. What does Sam weigh? Now, as a teacher, if you know the answer, put your hand up. Go ahead, put it up high and proud, like I said. Thank you, everyone, for not shouting out, all of you that know the answer. But if you've got it, like the esteemed Dr. Heward, get that hand up. I like that hand up. Keep that up. Woo, look at the early smart people in the room. They have their hand up. Good. So if you know it, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up the entire time. All right, so I gave you this information, but don't worry. If you don't know the answer, I'll scaffold. Like a good teacher, I will help you out. So I've already given you some information. You've got his height and his shoe size. All right, but remember, he works in a butcher shop. Amiris, don't give it away. Keep your hand up, good. Now there's a few more hands up, so obviously my scaffolding is helping because I've given you a little bit more information. Now I'm just going to stress keywords, right? Sam works in a butcher shop. Do you know it? Now, those of you that have your hand up, I know you're feeling really good and really proud, especially this front row here. They're feeling very proud. All right. Those of you that don't have your hand up, I know you're starting to feel a little bit embarrassed because it's now about half the group, and so you're now in this other half that doesn't have your hand up yet. But I'll keep working at it. Okay, I'll try to provide extraneous other information. By what measure do customers ask for the ground beef? Okay, a couple more hands up, but I still got a third of the class. Man, which class did I get here? So, we've been on this. I've only got a short amount of time to go through this lesson. I've really got to move on. So like any other teacher, I'll try one more time. Here's another way to just ask the question. What does Sam, the assistant butcher, weigh? Still don't have every hand up, but I got to move on. Those of you that know the answer, what does Sam weigh? Get ready. Meat. Good. Right? So Thank you, Maris, for enjoying that. We have just experienced traditional education, right? I had a topic. Some of you guys may have history in the topic or a background. Some of you may have been to a butcher shop before. Some of you may have never been to a butcher shop or didn't even know that, they kind of existed. I tried to give you some extra information, but not treating each of you as an individual. Perhaps my extraneous information made no contact with your previous repertoires, so it wasn't helpful at all. I tried to stress certain things that didn't matter. Some of you were kind of looking around, seeing who else had their hand up, who didn't. Those that didn't have your hand up might have felt a little bit chagrined. But then as a teacher, I just had to move on. Whether all my learners got it, I just had to move on. And those that knew it had to just keep waiting. So that's what we mean by traditional instruction. Group instruction presents a lot of challenges. I love this picture. And you couldn't Photoshop a better picture than this with regard to some of the challenges that we have in education with traditional teacher-led instruction. Like, look at what's going on here. What do you see? Is everybody on task? No. So if not everybody's on task, some people might be off task. What's some of the off-task behavior we see? Playing with the airplane, looking off into the distance, right? Tussling with each other. Totally where's the kid that's totally kind of spaced out over here in the white shirt? Not sure what he's thinking about, pondering something really serious. And then, of course, I feel so sorry for her, like the poor little girl trying to help the teacher and maintain some order, right? This is a great photograph. It's Lady Bird Johnson. Reading to a group of kids. I think this is in the early 1960s, 63 or something like that. But it's a wonderful illustration of those challenges that we have in group instruction. Maintaining attention, monitoring, ensuring learning, dealing with disruptive behavior, keeping all the students motivated. So remember earlier I was talking about why be a behavioral educator and that we have this pretty awesome toolkit. Well, it's that toolkit that helps us teach all learners. And so all of those kernels, all of those pieces is important to what we can do. But I want to give a special shout out. All of them are great. I want to give a special shout out to one of those, what Bill Heward calls a kingpin variable, but active student responding. So even though we have large groups of kids and it's the predominant group, teacher-led whole group instruction is the predominant method of delivery across schools today. I know not in a lot of the settings that we work in, but in schools in general. So behavior analysis offers a response to help make instruction effective even under those conditions. Active student responding, and because we're in the 21st century, there are even digital counterparts that support that. So we do have lots that we can offer kids. And frankly, we've been offering it to kids for a long, long, long time. So why be a behavioral educator? Because we've helped and supported and cared about some of the most vulnerable parts of our people within our population, within some of the most vulnerable people among us. And we've probably helped and touched the lives of tens of hundreds of, millions of kids, I think, over the 40, 50, 60 years that behavior analysis has been in education. And we know that from our work with kids that we've had an effect. And we also know it because there's numerous, dozens of organizations and official organizations that have talked about the power of behavior analysis. The U.S. Surgeon General talks about the importance of behavior analysis in reducing any inappropriate behaviors and teaching appropriate social behaviors. We had that statement from the U.S. Surgeon General back in 1999. The National Academy of Sciences talks about the power of a science of behavior or behavior analysis. So not only do we know that we're having an effect with kids, but we also have some outside independent verification. And some of those effects with kids are really, really important. Like being able to give kids a voice, being able to give all of us a voice. We have a scientific analysis of communication, of language. We have what we call verbal behavior. based off of a book written by B.F. Skinner in 1957 that's given us, again, back to that toolkit or this amazing array of empirically verified scientific ways to make sure that everyone among us has a voice. And that book has spawned journals, journal articles, research, publications, curriculum, tools, and most importantly, changed the lives of, again, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals. So verbal behavior and communication is important. But we also, as behavioral educators, we can build some pretty sophisticated repertoires. Of course, academics is important, daily living skills are important, play and leisure skills, all of those things are important. Those are critical to life. But so are some of these other higher order or more complex skills that behavior analysts do a really, really good job at addressing and thinking about. And we can do even better. And even at this conference, there were great presentations on things on these issues, learning how to learn. That's such a critical skill for all of us. And it's a critical lifelong skill. Learning is a lifelong skill. And so stimulus equivalence, theory of mind, all this higher order thinking, that is part of the realm of behavior analysis. So it's wonderful. Just want to show you a quick little snapshot of what I mean by that. This will kind of be a minute long. This might be a little hard. Hopefully it's big enough. But the bottom will give you an idea. This is one of those reasoning problems that we give in our elementary, late elementary school, early junior high skills. And you have like, in this particular example, there are 4 cats and they have 4 different colored collars and they play different sports, and you're supposed to, basics on the clues, figure out which cat likes which sport and is wearing which collar. It's one of those types of things that some people actually do for fun, try to figure out these little logic things. So this video is courtesy of Joanne Robbins. It was filmed at Morningside Academy in Seattle, Washington, but it also is part of her Peer International and her TAPS Talk About Problem Solving. I hope if I just click this, it should just play. Oh. Audio. Why has audio been the bane of my existence today? Ignore the slide that's up there. I can't access my audio without, so cover your ears because I'm going to unplug something for a second. It's going to be really loud. So, told you. Okay, thank you back there for turning that down just then. All right. Let's see if I was able to fix it. Okay. No, for some reason. You know, and I tested this. I apologize because we were in a session yesterday and I had a similar problem with audio. Just given the time, we're gonna go on past this, but I just want to. We will. There's the link up there. All the slides that I'm showing. I think it's a setting on my machine which we have to unplug.
Do you want me to try to fix it real quick? Or?
Yeah, sure. If you guys don't mind. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I think. Yes. Thank you. That's exactly what I should be doing. So Mike just very politely prompted me, very correctly. Can we talk through how he's a problem solver and all of that? And yes, that is absolutely something that I should do. So you are cool. Okay, so we're going to stop it. Yay. I know. Big round of applause. Thank you. And it's great because now the picture's up. So in this Talk Aloud problem solving video example, the 2 students, actually I'll tell you more about the 2 students after the video, but basically the student on the left is, in this Talk Aloud problem solving, he is the active listener. So he is not there to work through the or to solve the problem. He is there to coach and listen and have his peer, the active speaker, think out loud, how do I solve this problem? So basically, within the teaching framework, 2 sets of skills are being taught. This active listening, how do you actively listen and help someone figure out or solve a problem? And then the speaker, how do you actually solve the problem? What do you do? What are the steps? And so this is part of the Morningside curriculum. So this will be about a minute long.
So, the second one is Bob and Billy had favorite sports that needed water. Okay, so diving and swimming both need water. You can't really do that without any water. So what should we do for Bob and Billy? So we should find Bob and Billy. Bob's here, Billy's here, and we should cross off football and baseball, both of them. Land sports. Yes. So the cat and the peach. Doesn't this also show us one other thing about Barb and what? It shows us one more thing about Barb and Beulah that we can cross off something. Oh! With Barb and Beulah, we can cross off swimming and diving. Yep. Makes sense. Okay.
Right. So just a very quick snapshot. Basically, these kids solved this problem in about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. But you can see, so the role of the active listener is just to think, have you thought about all the variables? Have you paid attention to all the clues? What might this relate to? Just getting the speaker, the problem solver, to figure things out. This is all, again, part of a behavior analytic curriculum. So this behavioral analytic curriculum we can focus on, we can build up from those kernels and really think about and focus on that design of instruction and think about things like problem solving, analytical reasoning, higher order thinking, theory of mind, teaching those actual skills, alternative sets, contingency adduction. All of this is part of behavior analysis. And like I said, it's something that we don't want to become a lost art within behavior analysis. So here's 7 books of maybe a dozen or more that really focus on this behavior analytic perspective to instructional design. And so I really recommend anyone that's interested in instruction and really designing good instruction that understands how to design for generalization, general case, concept formation. These are just some terrific books to take advantage of. So back to that original question, why be a behavioral educator? Well, part of the reason is that we geek out over data, right? That's probably reason enough as it is. So here I have for you an image, and I have a question. How many horses? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to look at this. Okay. We'll do this as by hand raising. How many people think there's 1 horse? 2? 3? So I've got a few hands up. 4? A few more hands up. 5? About the same amount of hands up. 6? One hand up. Couple hands up. 7? Didn't have any hands up at 7. Okay. So here you go. 5 horses. All right. It's a nice job. 5. Thank you, everyone, for participating. So 5 horses. So I just said, why be a behavioral educator? We geek out over data. And then I show this picture of horses, or this, figure ground little visual image. And the reason I did that is to illustrate the point that we geek out over data, because data allows us to make sense out of the chaotic world. Data allows us to see, out of all the noise that's in the background, what's really there, or what's going on. So data gives us that ability to see what we're doing, what the environment is shaping, what behaviors are being selected for that are increasing. We use data to make decisions. So it's probably one of the most powerful tools that we have in our toolbox, is that analytical ability to make database decisions. And so we want to keep the analysis in applied behavior analysis, and we want to use our data and use it to make decisions. This is, that this has got to be real, because there's an e-card about the importance of using data. So, popular culture has adopted it. I want to give a couple little shout outs quickly to the standard acceleration chart in the top center. an incredibly robust tool for making pretty refined decisions about behavior. And then a shout out to Mickey Keenan, the bottom left. I did not put the reference in, and my memory doesn't give me, but this is from a JABA article talking about different ways to display data. How cool with modern technology. Now, this is not built, but the idea of having a data point and being able to tap on it or click on it and see a little video of that instance of behavior, I mean, that's really, really pretty cool. And all of this actually is in the realm of possibility these days. And that leads to another reason of why being a behavioral educator. Because with technology and the things that we're interested in, there's a world of possibilities, a world of possibilities. And that's not just because modern digital technologies. B.F. Skinner knew that way back in 1954. Let's hear it.
All these young people are studying in a new way. Class is spelling. It might as well be arithmetic or algebra or grammar, or in fact anything involving the use of words or symbols. Each student is using a teaching machine, a device which creates vastly improved conditions for effective study. What are teaching machines? How are they used? What can they teach? Who prepares the material they teach? And how does this material differ from textbooks, lectures, and educational television? What impact will machine teaching have on school organization? Some of these questions can be answered in at least a preliminary way.
So that's a little tidbit of B.F. Skinner talking about the teaching machine back in 1954. And he talked about it as an automatic self-correcting device, present some information to a learner, hopefully, predetermined to be on that learner's level. The learner responds, they get contingent feedback to that response on the correctness of their response. That's kind of no different the way we talk about our tablets these days and the instructional programs that are on our tablets. We want that contingent feedback for the learner. Probably one of the greatest differences is the adaptability and the media that we're able to provide through those devices. But here we are, what is this, 40, 50, almost 60 years later. This still holds true. This is what we want for our learners, but we can also go beyond that. And we have done that within our field of behavior analysis. Programs like HeadSprout that basically use a science of behavior, completely thorough, behavior analytic, thoroughgoing program that teaches non-readers or early readers how to read and comprehend within like 30 hours of online instruction, all based on behavior analysis. The only difference between HeadSprout and the teaching machine, like HeadSprout you could think of as a digital teaching machine, but it's not the fact that it was delivered over the internet or on a computer. It's the program. It's that arrangement of sequences that make it a teaching machine. But behavior analysis have a lot of other opportunities in technology. We're doing work with robots and service delivery. In fact, one of the vendors at the National Autism Conference had robots. Was a booth about robots. We have behavior analytic researchers like Casey Clay at the University of Missouri doing virtual reality types of teaching for teaching special ed teachers how to work with kids with disabilities. My colleagues and I are working on this is proof of concept. Right now it's a 2D app kind of game to teach discrete trials that will ultimately be a 3D little game. Behavior Me works on virtual reality to teach kids with disabilities how to navigate the world. And so we are starting to seize on those opportunities, but there's a lot more that we can do. Another reason to be a behavioral educator, probably not the strongest reason, but it actually is pretty good for us in the sense that what we believe in, what we know how to do is congruent with Department of Ed priorities, with U.S. Department of Ed priorities. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows that we have a new educational law. It was signed into effect in 2015, the Every Student Succeeds Act. Once President Obama signed that into law, a lot of publications were written about what this law represented, what it meant for kids, what types of expectations parents and teachers and students should have, how technology plays a role. But of course, it's not only the Department of Ed that talks about what expectations people should have for the education that is part of their basic human right, but so does the Association for Behavior Analysis. This is the beginnings of their statement on a student's right to effective education. So way back in 1990, the Association for Behavior Analysis had a statement about what it believed was important for education for kids. So just again, as a kind of a little thought experiment or a little quiz, we're going to go through this, and just to make it short, it's going to be call responding. We all say A-B-A-I differently, however. Just say ABBA and DOE, okay? Just to make it easy for this. So basically, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you just respond when I signal whether you think the agency that wrote this is ABAI, is ABBA, or the Department of Ed. So the first one is every student has an up-to-date profile of individual strengths, needs, motivations, and goals. Who do you think published that? Who do you think wrote that in one of their publications? Get ready. It was a little bit of a mixed response. Department of Ed, exactly. How about instruction should include both mastery criteria and speed dimensions of fluent performance? Get ready. Ooh, wait for the signal. Get ready. ABBA. Yeah, good. Yes, I think it's the fluent performance that gave that one away, right? Measurement and evaluation should entail objective, curriculum-based measures of performance. ABBA or DOE? Get ready. Ooh, mixed bag within the group. Department of Ed. All right. Well, they can get it right every once in a while. Students progress based on mastery of content, regardless of the time, place, or pace of learning. They progress based on the mastery of content. ABBA or Department of Ed? Get ready. Ooh, again, a mixed bag. Well, maybe a little stronger to the Department of Ed. Exactly. Department of Ed. Maybe they got it right twice. A couple more, 3 times. Last one. Use data to create a system of interconnected feedback for students, educators, and parents. Using data for interconnected feedback. Get ready. I'm glad there's still some ABBA, folks still saying ABBA out there, but you can see my pattern. Department of Ed, right? All congruent with things that we believe in, things that we know are important. And so why be a behavioral educator? Because teachers, administrators, schools, districts, states, and mostly the kids need us. In this environment that we're in the Department of Ed priorities, they want to do what we know how to do. They need us. In fact, from the U.S. Department of Education website, up live now, it's about competency-based or personalized learning. They talk about things that resonate with us. Allow students to progress as they demonstrate mastery. One of those sentences that I just quizzed you on. That the content is relevant to each student and tailored to their unique needs, individualization, differentiation, personalization, things that we've been talking about for a long time. And that there are multiple pathways to get to wherever a student needs to be. There are multiple ways to teach a student to build instructions that they learn. So using technology, other new learning opportunities, all from the U.S. Department of Ed. This is all based in this competency-based education framework. We've been doing competency-based education back when it was called mastery-based and even before, right? But now it's a U.S. Department of Ed priority. It has been for about 7 or 8 years now. Here's just a very quick snapshot of for K-12, public education school districts all across the U.S. in terms of their progress in doing some of these features of competency-based education. We don't have time to go into the detail. The references is there and will be on the slides. But look at all these advanced states and developing states, and even states with emerging practices in competency-based education. And then look at poor Wyoming, who, again, this is 2015 that these data were pulled. Hopefully they're part of it too, focusing on those things that we believe in. With the Center on Innovations and Learning, a center I've had the pleasure of working with for the last 7 years, my colleagues and I have worked directly with helping develop the competency-based education structures at the state education level across these different states. And we've had the opportunity to focus working with state education departments on evidence-based practices, on self-pacing, self-monitoring, some database decision-making, kind of looking at behavioral skills training and micro-credentialing and all of these types of things. And so basically, schools need more of us. All the systems that I've worked with, they're always asking, how do we get more, where do we find people that do what you do, know what you know as a behavior analyst? They just don't know always to call it a behavior analyst, but they're really interested in the same things that we're interested in. So why be a behavioral educator? Well, I think we're relentless, tireless, no matter how steep the hill, we're relentless in our efforts to make things better, even if sometimes the changes don't seem that great. As Fred Keller told us, that whenever we see something positive, something good, we should reinforce it. And I would need to also thank Bill Heward for sharing this with all of us. This is from a video lecture that Fred Keller gave with his for an OSU colloquium. How long ago, Bill? Thank you, because you know I can't see that. 1990. And I think he was asked the question, how do you... Schools are so tough to change, and they often seem resistant to change. How do you make things better? How do you make a change? And he said, anytime you see a model school that looks like it's applying good behavioral principles, give it your support. I believe the process is something like shaping. If we all keep on nibbling, we can change education. And I think as behavioral educators, that should be both our motto and our creed, and is something that we do all the time. So I know I started this with why be a behavioral educator? But rather than asking why be a behavioral educator, perhaps the better question is why isn't everyone? So thank you. The slides are at the URL, the SMORE URL.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here this week. And I think Janet really sends us off with an excellent message in terms of being aware of the role of environment and students together, that those two processes come together in your efforts. Everybody go out, teach well, and the code for the session, THX 023, as in shortened thanks, and 023, THX 023. See you, everybody. Drive carefully.